Hello everybody, very good afternoon. Please confirm me on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly or not so that we can quickly start with this session. Yes, please confirm me on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly or not. Very good afternoon, very good afternoon, very good afternoon. I can read your chats as well here. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, thank you, thank you. AA September 2026 attempt is nearer than it appears. You know, my dear friends, this statement is 100% true because although from now we can say that we have approximately 2.5 months, that is up to 13th of July, 13th of August, and roughly 15 to 20 days after that as well. But let me tell you that even if these 75 days are not utilized properly, it might be resulting into a lesser time for you. So what we have to understand in this particular video is how to effectively utilize these 75 to 80 days in our favor and clear AA September 2026 attempt in one go. My dear friends, this video is going to be relevant for everybody who has either attempted for AA in past or is going to attempt for the first time in September 2026 attempt. And what we have to understand in this video is what AA is all about, what are the examiner expectations from AA, how we are going to study for AA, how you should prepare, and everything in between. My dear friends, we have to, by the end of this video, we have to understand in full that what AA is all about and how we can make sure that we clear AA in September 2026 attempt. Whatever questions you might have, please feel free to post it on the chat box. During the intervals, I will be taking certain breaks and I would be explaining all of you about everything that you are asking for. But from my perspective, please try to understand the AA subject once, and I'm sure that if we follow this strategy that we are going to discuss over here, you will surely clear AA in September 2026 attempt. So my dear friends, for this we are going to take the help of the study guide given by the ACCA body only. However, we are going to discuss a lot of things which are going to help you, so please be with me till the end of the video. Now my dear friends, first of all, the name of the subject is Audit and Assurance, right? I'm sure you must be aware about it, but this is from the skills level and this is also called as the F8 paper, right? Now, based on my interaction with the students, a lot of students are really scared of this particular subject because they feel that understanding audit might be a very difficult task for them. Even if they understand it, application of the audit procedures might be a very difficult task for them. But let me tell you that it's not that difficult if you understand it from a right point of view. So let's just understand what is the right point of view. The syllabus guide that we are going to take is relevant for September 2026 attempt to June 2027 attempt. So even if you are going to appear for December 2026, even if you are going to appear for March 2027 or June 2027, this video is going to be relevant for you. So you can watch this video, you can watch this strategy till the end. Okay, now let's discuss about the major contents that we are going to discuss about today. The introduction of the syllabus is good, overall understanding, expectations, all is good, but let's first jump into the syllabus and then we will go back and understand all of these points. When we discuss about the syllabus, it is divided into 6 parts. Number 1 being the audit framework and regulation. Number 2 being the planning and risk assessment. So this is what we are calling sections. Okay, then third one is the internal control. Fourth one is the audit evidence. Fifth one is the review and reporting. And then we are going to jump for the employability and technology skills that a lot of students might miss. So let's understand this whole thing in detail and then let's figure out whether we will be able to cover everything in one go or not and how we should prepare. Now let's talk about the syllabus part first. Okay, when I say section number 1, I call it chapter number 1. Okay, chapter number 1 is the concept of audit and other assurance engagements. Here you will be discussing about what is audit, what is assurance, what are the key elements of an assurance engagement, how the professional conducts the assurance engagement, how the professional is expected to conduct the audit engagements, and we are also going to discuss about how standards are developed and so on. Okay, a very simple chapter. But first thing is this external audit. See, this is your first introduction to the world of auditing, right? Because before that, I am assuming that you might not have studied the audit subject. So this is your first introduction to the audit subject, and here we will be discussing the external audit. This is also called as independent audit in certain regions. Okay, so we will be discussing about it. Are you aware about the exam pattern? I'm sure you must be aware about the exam pattern, but if I have to summarize it, although we will be discussing it in detail, if I have to summarize it, the exam is divided into two sections, section A and section B. Okay, section A is MCQ, which is roughly 30%, and section B is descriptive, which is 70%. Okay, this is how the exam pattern is. We will be discussing in detail about it. Now let's talk about the corporate governance. Did you understand corporate governance earlier, anytime earlier in your college, in any of these studies? Corporate governance, I don't think so, right? Corporate governance is defined as a system by which an entity is directed and controlled, but this is not similar to the corporate governance that you might have studied in your college or in your 12th paper also. Here we are going to discuss it from the point of view of Companies Act as well. So we are going to discuss about the audit committees, how a particular organization is managed, what all committees are there, what all directors are there, all of that we are going to cover under this. Then when we talk about the fourth chapter, that is going to be professional ethics and ACCA's code of ethics and conduct. Now when I talk about professional ethics, see, when we are working as a professional, particularly in the audit domain or be it any professional also, we have to abide by certain ethical measures. We have to bound by certain ethical guidelines, and to know about it is very important. My dear friends, I am very fond of the ACCA syllabus because it teaches you some part of the ethics in the skill level only, that is the AA paper. Because from what I have seen, a lot of professional qualification introduces it either after the papers or during the final stages of the paper, but I am fond of ACCA for introducing this particular professional ethics during the skill level only, and this is going to be very important chapter. A lot of questions are asked from this particular section as well. Now when I talk about planning and risk assessment, this is section number B. So see, here we will not be discussing about any in section A, we will not be discussing about any of the international standards on auditing. That is very sure that we are not going to discuss about any of the international standards on auditing over here. But when we move to section number B, we have to discuss about 300 series, ISA 300 series. We have to discuss about ISA 300 series. Now what is this series? So the standards that are being created by the international body, they have been divided into certain series. Say ISA 200 series, ISA 300 series, ISA 400 series, ISA 500 series, ISA 600 series, and ISA 700 series. So these series are very important for your examination. Out of that, if I have to name one series that is the most important, then it is going to be ISA 300 series, because here we discuss about the planning, how to plan an audit. Because see, we cannot perform any audit without doing the appropriate planning, because there are huge time constraints, there are huge cost constraints also. We have to measure the balance between the ethical norms, between the time and cost balance also. So that is why it is going to be very important for us to plan the audit. Even if I tell you the importance of this, you know how audit planning is defined, or one of the attributes of audit planning, that is audit planning is a continuous and iterative process, that it is ever going. Once we finish the assignment, once we finish the engagement for the current year, immediately we have to start planning for the next year of the audit. My dear friends, this is that important. So a lot of questions are also asked from this particular section, this particular series, and here we are going to discuss about the planning and risk assessment only. Okay, but rest assured that once we cover it through our summary notes, through our question banks, through our regular batches, through our practice batches, you are going to love this chapter. Okay, now here are 6 chapters inside this. First is obtaining, accepting, and continuing audit engagement. That is, how do you accept it? See, accepting an audit engagement is also a formal process, is also a professional process. You cannot just go and accept like you are buying something. You cannot do so. What you have to do is you have to sometimes talk to the professional previous auditor also in a professional manner. You have to communicate with them also, take their approval also, or communicate with them the relevant issues also, and then you have to accept it. A lot of times what happens is there are other procedures also that you need to follow. So that we will be discussing under chapter number 1 inside this section. Then objective and general principles, that is, how do you identify the risk, how do you assess the risk, all of that. Assessing audit risk as in evaluating the impact of it. See, identification of risk is one thing, but not every risk requires your immediate attention. Not every risk needs to be mitigated also. So that is why what we will be doing is we will be assessing the audit risk. What is more important for us, what is not important for us, everything like that. Then when you have to identify the risk, the only way of identifying the relevant risk, evaluating it, is by understanding the entity. There might be certain risks which might not be relevant for my entity, but which might be very relevant for your entity. Let me give you an example. For example, if I am operating in the online training industry, and somebody who is running the ACCA offline classes. Now, do you think the risk that I face might be same as the risk that that person faces? No, that person might face the risk that certain people who might not have paid the fees or have not followed the due process, they might be attending their physical classes. In my case, that is not the issue. In my case, the security is the major issue, right? So the risk might be different, the solutions might be different. That is why you need to understand the entity. Then fraud, laws and regulations. Now these are very important standards that we are going to discuss about. We are going to discuss about number one, what is fraud? What are the responsibilities? That is major thing a lot of students miss, that what are the responsibilities of the auditor regarding fraud. So we are going to discuss about it, how auditor needs to respond in case they have identified a fraud. We are going to discuss about that also. Laws and regulations, what are the implications of laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements, what auditor's responsibilities are, and how auditor needs to respond if they identify any NOCLAR. Now what is this NOCLAR? Non-compliance with laws and regulations. Okay, now audit planning and documentation. Now this is going to be the star chapter. That is, we are going to discuss here how to plan the audit, when to start the audit planning, how to document the audit. But documentation should not be such an issue, right? Whatever you are doing, just you need to write it. No, it's not just writing. You know, for the audit documentation, what is the level, what is the extent of audit documentation? Audit documentation should be sufficient for an experienced auditor, not anybody, for an experienced auditor with no connection with the audit or with no previous connection with the company or the audit, to understand what are the procedures that have been performed, what are the conclusions that have been reached, and what are the evidences that have been tested. If an experienced auditor having no connection with the company or the audit can understand it, then you have done the audit documentation sufficiently. Now, this is not tough, but you have to put yourself in the shoes of the auditor and evaluate what the standards is and how you can fulfill it. So during our classes, what we are going to do is, we are going to understand that, okay, this is the audit evidence, whether it is sufficient or not. So we are going to test it via different measures, via different examples, and that is going to be very, very important for us. I hope you are understanding it. I hope you are understanding it till now. Yes, do let me know. I hope you are understanding it till now. Yes, perfect. Now let's move forward. When I move to section number C, which is internal control, now here the story gets very, very interesting. Now let me tell you why the story gets very, very interesting over here. Because a lot of times whenever we discuss about the audit as a subject, students think that it's just the audit of the financial statements, that is the balance sheet, profit and loss, income statement, cash flow statement, notes, all of that, and statement of changes in equity and all of that. But it's not true. What we have to understand is that a core part of the external audit, statutory audit, is also one more thing, which is the internal control testing. See, as part of the internal audit, we do a detailed testing of the internal controls and the overall processes. But as part of the external audit, statutory audit also, we have to test certain controls which have impact over the financial reporting. We have to issue our opinion on that also, and that is called as IFC report, or in certain regions it is called as ICFR report. IFC as in internal financial control report, or ICFR internal control over financial reporting report. Okay, and this is going to be very, very important for all of you. I hope you understand it. I hope you understand it, right? Now, when we discuss about the internal controls, since this is your first interaction with the field of audit, so it must be your first interaction for the field of internal controls also, and that is why we are going to discuss this internal control topic in very, very detailed manner, and we are going to ensure that you understand everything. My dear friends, internal controls is also, for example, here when I talk about this particular session, I have allowed everybody to attend this session. But when I talk about the regular classes, not everybody could attend it. Only the people who have followed a due process of enrollment could attend it, right? So that is why it is going to be very, very important for all of us to understand that whenever we talk about internal controls, every organization might have their separate set of internal controls. In fact, in case of internal controls, what we have to understand in particular is that it is highly customized also. And that is why it becomes a little challenge for the auditor to first of all understand the risk. Then for every risk, there is a control, to understand that control and to apply the procedures to test that control and then evaluate whether it is effective or not. And that is why it becomes very, very difficult for an auditor to understand it sometimes. And we have to understand that how auditor needs to evaluate it, how auditor needs to respond to it. Under this section, we are going to discuss that only. That is systems of internal control. How how the auditor evaluates the system of internal control, what should be the systems of internal controls within an organization, how the auditor would evaluate it, the use and evaluations of systems of internal control by the auditor. Then test of controls. Once you have evaluated the systems, you have to test it also, you have to apply the procedures and test it also, so that is their test of controls. Then communication on internal control. Communication as in what? Communication as in what? Communication as in if there is any deficiency that you have identified. Now I have not spoken the word outlier, I have not said anything, I have used the word that is communication on internal control, that is deficiency. So here we have to discuss about a new word which is called as deficiency. Now here we have to discuss about what is deficiency. It is similar to material misstatement or misstatement. Now sir, what is misstatement? That we are going to discuss after this section during the audit evidence section. Okay, but deficiency as an outlier. When I say deficiency, so something that is not up to the mark, that is something not as per the standards. Okay, so communication on internal controls we are going to discuss about it. Sir, is there going to be any international standards on auditing also under this section? No. Now internal audit. But sir, this is internal control, this is internal audit. Same or different? It's totally different. See, internal audit is a kind of audit which evaluates the processes or the internal controls. Internal controls is one part of it, right? So that is why we have to understand. And the difference between external and internal audit. In fact, there's going to be a very good difference that you are going to learn about it, which is very different from the Indian practice. So if you are a student from India, you might understand it that external auditor could take certain direct assistance from the internal auditors as well for certain areas, right? In case of international standards, it is not allowed. So this is one particular thing. Similarly, there are other things also that are very different between the internal auditor and the external auditor, and how it is different from the Indian practice and the Indian understanding. So that is why we have to learn it in very detailed manner. Then the scope of the internal audit function, outsourcing and internal audit assignment. What is this? So we have to discuss about internal audit. What internal audit does? Is it a value adding activity or not? What is the scope of it? What it could cover? And outsourcing. Now this becomes important for you because here we are going to discuss about a concept called service organization, and you are going to love this concept because it is totally on the outsourcing. A lot of you might hear these days that a great nature of job, a great avenue for certified accountants is the outsourcing work. They could sit in their home, they can sit in their home country, and they could take the outsourcing work from all over the world. So we are going to learn about that, how that particular function operates, how that particular thing is achieved. Okay, so that is going to be very important for us. Now when we talk about audit evidences, so what we have to learn under this is totally 500 series. Okay, we have to learn about a lot of things, majorly 500 series. When I say majorly, it means it could have certain aspect of the other standards also, other series also, but we are going to majorly learn the ISA 500 series over here. Audit evidence is what? Is it like the criminal evidence that we see in movies? No. It is not like that, but it is similar. How? For example, if auditor ask the management that whether you have done any revaluations during the year, okay, and management has said that yes, we have done the revaluation of a particular machine based on the engineer's report. Now, instead of just trusting their words, what we have done is we have politely asked them for the engineer's report, and we have just cross-checked whether the valuation that is given by the engineer's report and the valuation that is being mentioned in the revaluation report in the balance sheet is matching or not. We have just tried it, we have just kept it as an evidence that yes, this revaluation has been done based on this engineer's report, and we have cross-checked the amount also. Now, in this particular case, what we have done is we have just obtained the evidences. What we have done is we have just obtained the audit evidences, and this is what is the definition of evidence that helps you reach the relevant conclusion, right? So assertions and audit evidence, very important. Assertions and audit evidence. Okay, then audit. What is this assertion, sir? So this is part of the basics of audit, which we are going to learn just after this. What is assertions? Okay, this we are going to learn in the basics of audit. Assertions are basically not the technical definition, but are the criteria again which a subject matter is evaluated. For example, if I ask you, is it a remote? Is it a remote? If I ask you, is it a remote? How will you evaluate if this is a remote? If I ask you if this is a remote, and if I ask you if this is a remote, okay, now tell me which one is a remote. You might say that this one is a remote because it has all the attributes of a remote, right? Now that attributes in case of audit is called as the assertions. We are going to learn in detail about it in the regular lectures. Okay, now audit procedures. Audit procedures are the procedures that are being done by the auditor to obtain the evidences. See, To obtain the evidences, audit procedures are done. Why evidences are obtained? To reach the conclusion. So the cycle is simple. Understand, evaluate, apply procedures, obtain evidences, and after that reach conclusion and then report. Right? So that is how is going to be the cycle that we are going to discuss under audit. I hope this is very clear. I hope this is very clear. Now, audit sampling and other means of testing. Now, very important topic, very interesting topic, because see, if I ask you that evaluate and conduct the audit of my organization, now there are thousands of invoices that are issued in the year. Can you check each one invoice, test everything and then report? No, that might not be possible as part of the external auditor's responsibilities, right? So what you have to essentially do is you have to apply these samples, but these samples should not be judgmental. There are a lot of criteria before selecting the sample. That should be statistical in nature, that should not be judgmental in nature, right? So we have to evaluate a lot of ways of selecting these samples, how these samples are selected, how these are tested, how the reporting is being done on. We have to select something called as key item testing also. We have to do certain things such as the representative samples also. So we have to learn about how to select these samples and then how to apply it. So we are going to discuss that also. Now, after we have covered the whole syllabus, I will also be telling you how we are going to prepare it, what are the expectations of the examiner, what books we are going to refer. So for example, these are the books that we are going to refer. So I'm going to show you how these books are going to look for you, how you can use these books. This is the summary notes, this is the question bank. We are going to discuss about each one of these things in detail. Okay, so don't worry about it, just stick with me, you will be able to understand everything. Now, the audit of specific items. So there are going to be certain specific items, say receivables, say payables, say inventory, say revenue. The audit of that particular items, we are going to discuss it. Okay, then the automated tools and techniques, very important chapter. Automated tools and techniques, as in how the computer assisted audit techniques or the different types of automations could help you in the process of audit. The work of others, the others could be what? Experts, it could be management's experts, it could be internal auditors. We are going to use the work of these people. Okay, it could be management's expert, it could be auditors expert, and so on. Then not-for-profit organization, we are going to discuss is how to conduct the audit of not-for-profit organization. Do you think the similar risk that a normal organization follows, it would be followed by the NPOs also, not-for-profit organization also? No, right? That might not be very true. So that is why we have to understand what are the possible risks of not-for-profit organization and how do we proceed. Yes, hope this is clear till now. Hope this is clear till now. Yes, very clear. Perfect. Thank you. Now let's discuss about review and reporting. What we have to understand here in review and reporting is very simple. We have understood the organization, we have understood the internal controls, we have evaluated the internal controls, we have evaluated the overall financial statements, we have tested the items, we have obtained evidences. Now what? Now review by the senior professional and the reporting part by the engagement partner. So subsequent events, this is going to be important. Now this is again going to be, or not just these two, these three are again going to be from the 500 series. Okay, but these are going to be related to the completion and review. Subsequent events, this is not similar to the subsequent event that you have discussed in FR. There's a fundamental difference between the subsequent events definition of FR and audit, and you are going to love it when we study it on a regular classes. Then going concern. What is going concern? Is this similar to what we have discussed in class 11th and 12th in basics of accounting? My dear friends, it is similar but not same. In case of audit, you also have to look at it from the point of view of audit opinion. What if certain organization is facing negative cash flows for multiple years and there's no chance of revival also? How will you deal with it? Will you go ahead or not? Will you think that this organization could survive or not? How will you report to it? How will you communicate it to the relevant shareholders? That is going to be very important. Now the independent auditors report. Here we are going to discuss about the detailed report, and my dear friends, you are going to love this particular chapter because we are also going to take a real report and evaluate it. Okay, and we can take one report of the UK also and we can evaluate it. We can take one report of the India also and we can evaluate it, and you are going to love it. Now, once we have completed all of these, we will be completing with the official syllabus. Now we are going to discuss about certain skills per se. What are these skills? These skills are going to help you appear for the examination. So these are called as employability and technology skills. Here we are going to discuss about how resources, how you can utilize the relevant resources and score maximum marks in your examination by using all of those resources. So we are going to cover this: use computer technology, relevant response options, navigate windows, and present data. Okay, so that is how we are going to learn about how to use the different functions given in the hub, and we have to use it for the purpose of scoring maximum marks and presenting our answer. Now here you will see that there's a detailed study guide that is given over here, which is going to explain what we have just understood in detail. Okay, now after this, see, there's a point by point explanation. See, in subsequent events you have to discuss the purpose of subsequent events review, you have to discuss the responsibilities of auditor, you have to discuss the procedures. So all of these things we are going to cover. This is just a detailed study guide. Sorry, this is just a detailed study guide that we can perform, that we can study later on also during our regular lectures. Now my dear friends, what we have to discuss about it is there a change from what we have covered till June 2026 examinations, and is there the syllabus update from September 2026 onwards? So no, my dear friends, there have been no addition, deletions or amendments to the syllabus for September 2026 to June 2027 examination. And this is going to be very, very relevant. That is, if you have studied, say if you have given AA in March attempt or June attempt, and say you have not cleared, but for the purpose of September, if you have to study, are there any major changes? So no, there are no major additions, there are no major deletions, there are no major amendments also. So that is very, very important for you. Okay, hope this is clear. Now this is the overall approach to examining the syllabus. That is, how do you need to prepare for the examination. So see, in case of your paper, extra 10 minutes are given to read the instructions. Okay, first thing. Okay, this is 3-hour computer based examination. 10 minutes are given for reading the instructions. Section A, section B, like we have discussed. Section A, 3 10 marks case study questions, case based questions. Each has 5 objective type questions worth 2 marks each. So 3 cases, 5 questions, 2 marks. So 3 into 5 into 2, that is 30 marks. And we have also discussed it like 30% only above, right? And here section B comprises 1 30-mark question and 2 20-mark question. So total 3 questions, one is 30 marks, another 2 are 20 marks. But inside that there could be many more questions, many more sub questions that it could have. Okay, generally the tested areas are planning and risk assessment, internal controls, audit evidences, but other areas could also be tested. But most frequently tested areas are planning and risk assessment, internal controls, and audit evidences. That is majorly what? That is majorly ISA 300 series, ISA 500 series, and internal control section. But a lot of times ISA 700 series, which is this one, ISA 700 series, which is this one, which one? This one. This is ISA 700. Okay, that could also be. Hope this is clear. So with this we have completed this particular portion. Okay, now before moving further, let's try to discuss this. Before we go for point number 8, 9 and so on, let's go back to a point number 1. Okay, point number 1 was introduction to the syllabus. Okay, so here we are going to cover everything that we have discussed so far, but let me give you certain highlights of it. So it starts with what? It starts with nature. The syllabus starts with what? Nature, purpose and scope of assurance engagement. Okay, it is divided into 6 areas, one being this one. Okay, then second, it then leads to planning the audit and performing risk assessment. We discussed this. Yes, this is part 2. Okay, then syllabus then covers a range of areas relating to audit of financial statements. Okay, including scope of internal control. So this is what third point. Okay, then in addition to the final review procedure, the syllabus concentrates on reporting, including the form and content of the independent auditor's report. This is the 4th part. Finally, the syllabus contains outcomes relating to demonstration of appropriate digital and employability. That is going to be the fifth part. Yes, is this clear? Is this clear? Is this clear? Yes, very, very important, right? Now, what we have to understand here is the main capabilities. What could be the main capabilities that you have to discuss over here? Let's discuss about it. Okay, main capabilities are, see, there are three levels in the ACCA examination. Okay, there are three levels in the ACCA examination. Level 3, 1, 2, and 3. You know, level 1 is relevant for knowledge level. Level 2 is relevant for skills level, and level 3 is relevant for professional level. But generally what happens is, in case of double examination, which is skill level examination, level 1 and 2 are tested. In knowledge level, only level 1 are tested. In professional level, level 1, 2, and 3 are tested, because lower levels could also always be tested. What is level number 1? Knowledge. That is, you should be able to understand everything and have a basic understanding and a basic application skill. In level 2, application and analysis. That is, you have to evaluate what the case demands. How do you need to apply? Not just blankly apply, but have a detailed understanding and then application of the proper concept. So that is level 2. Level 3 is synthesis. You have to evaluate the requirements, you have to apply also, you have to identify all the possible outcomes, and then you have to choose the right outcome and then frame your answers. That is level 3. That is tested at strategic professional level, which is the triple examination in our case for the audit. Okay, so that is going to be very, very important. Now, second part is the concept. What do you have to explain? Explain the concept of audit and assurance, functions of audit, how auditor obtains and accepts audit engagements, obtains the understanding of the entity, then how auditor plans, then describe and evaluate internal controls. Okay, how do we communicate the risk, that is the deficiencies, then scope of internal audit, then identify the work and evidence obtained by the auditor. Okay, then explain how consideration of subsequent events are done, going concern principles are applied. Okay, then conclusions, written representations, audit report, and final review, and demonstrate employability and technology skills. Everything that we have covered so far in our discussion has been mentioned as the main capabilities over here. Hope you have understood this. Any query so far? No, I hope you have understood this. Yes. So with this we have completed this portion also, right? Now let's move forward to the end of the discussion, where we are going to discuss about the relation of AA syllabus with other subjects and how we are going to prepare for AA. Before that, I will also be showing you the summary notes and the question banks that we are going to use. But now let's discuss about how AA is related. So AA is directly related to your AAA syllabus, because the advanced concepts are tested at AAA level, and for the SBR also, that is AAA syllabus might be relevant for your SBR knowledge also. But when we talk about AA, the concepts are going to be derived either from FA or from FR also. That is why it is always suggested that you have to appear for AA either with FR or immediately after FR. Okay, now when I talk about the guide to ACCA examination structure, so we have to understand that the passing percentage is 50. But when we talk about the applied skills level here, when we talk about the applied skills level here, what we have to discuss is, when we discuss about this particular subject, which is our subject AA, these are assessed in 3-hour computer based examination plus 10 minutes of reading the instructions, right? Now here what we have to discuss is, we have to focus, ACCA is allowed to focus on testing students' technical and application skills. That is technical as in the text based skills, whether they have understood everything or not, and application skills also, whether they are able to apply also, rather than, for example, their ability to perform simple calculation. That is, it's not just about performing the simple calculation, it's also about testing whether they are able to understand and apply it also. Can they test the synthesis part? No, they have to test the synthesis part in the professional level, which is the AAA level, but here they cannot test it. So with this we have completed the understanding of these things also, right? Now let's discuss about the batch details. Okay, but before that, let me show you the book that we are going to refer here. Okay, let me show you the book also. My dear friends, this is a summary notes. These are a summary notes. Okay, see, these are a summary notes that we are going to refer, and these are handwritten in nature. See, for every chapter I have created the index also here. See, for every chapter there are So there are 31 chapters. There we have listed in 2025. So this is as per the study hub. So in these 31 chapters, I have written every chapter in the handwritten format. I have summarized everything for you so that you are able to understand everything in one go. And we have curated this with a lot of attention, with a lot of experience, and from looking at various reference materials, so you are going to find it wholesome and you can just refer it, and I'm sure that you will be able to cover everything and you will be able to appear for the examination after practicing the questions as well. So after reading this, you can directly go for the question practice also, and this is my commitment to you, my dear friends. So let me tell you that these summary notes are going to help you. Now, how the question bank looks, this is how the question bank looks. So is question bank also handwritten? No, it is created for chapter wise questions, okay, but not in the handwritten format. This is in the format of typed format, printed format, but here I have given the suggested answer also after every question, so that you can understand how the answers are framed, what answers are selected, and just in case if you face any trouble, you can feel free to let me know. Okay, now let's talk about the batch details. Okay, that is going to be very relevant for you. Now let's talk about the batch details. My dear friends, when I talk about AA batch details, what we have to understand is the overall batch has been divided into two parts. One is the concept lecture, another one is the question practice session. Concept lectures and question practice sessions. Okay, when I talk about the concept lectures, that is, we are going to cover 100% concepts with all details, and okay, this is going to be offered to you in the recorded format. The language is going to be English. So why recorded? So that you can watch it at your own pace. Okay, you can let me know the doubts anytime, but you can watch it at your own pace. That is why the recorded. Why English, sir? Because you have to write in the examination in English, and if you understand everything in English, you are going to love this subject. Now IFRS brush up lectures, because like I told you that the double exam needs to be appeared after FR, but sometimes it might happen that there might be a gap between your FR and double A paper. Also, you might have forgotten the FR syllabus, so that's why I'll be providing the IFRS brush up lectures to you also free of cost. Now question practice sessions, so it is live plus recorded. Why so? Because for every chapter I will be providing you certain questions in the recorded format, but we are also going to conduct it in the live format. Certain important questions we are also going to solve in the live format. That is why I have written live plus recorded, and these are also going to be in English format, but here we are going to solve the MCQ questions also, because my target is that you should target to achieve at least 25 marks in the MCQ format, so that you can easily achieve more marks in case studies and secure the rank also here. Okay, now when I talk about the query and doubt support, so what we have to understand is you can post your queries on the app also, where you will be seeing the lectures, or you can send your queries to me over the WhatsApp also. Live sessions are conducted every Monday at 8 p.m. IST, where you can join and ask your queries. Okay, in these sessions we are also going to solve certain questions in the live format, so that you understand everything really well. About the mock test, now 6 mock tests are there, 3 unit tests and 3 full syllabus tests with evaluation would be provided to you, so that you are able to understand everything. Now what will you get? So you will get the hard copy notes, like I have shown you this. So you are going to get the hard copy notes. Now this is the hard copy summary notes that you are going to get. These are the hard copy question bank. Let me show you also. Okay, so when I talk about this is the exact print of the book that I have shown you in the digital format. You are going to get it delivered to your home. Similarly, when I talk about question bank, so this is the question bank. This is the exact copy of the question bank that I have shown it to you, and you are going to love it. Okay, now there's a comment. When is the session for AA at 7 p.m. today? Only 7 p.m. IST. Okay, now when I talk about this, other than that, you are also going to get the class board notes. Board notes in which format? Hard copy or soft copy? So class board notes are going to be in soft copy format. Okay, that I'm going to provide it to you. Now when the session starts, so the session starts on 13th of June. This is our first session, and from today you will start seeing the lectures on the app also. For everybody who has already enrolled or who are going to enroll, you will be able to see the sessions from today. Now end date is mid of August. Okay, however this time the exams are going to start from 7th of September, so we are going to leverage that extra week for the mock test, but we are going to finish our syllabus in the same time, which is mid of August. Okay, duration is going to be how many hours? Blank? No, 70 hours. 70 hours approx is going to be the duration. This would include what? The concepts, questions, doubts and mentorship. Okay, now validity is going to be 3 months, but you can also extend the validity for another 3 months on request. So if you are going to appear for September 2026 or December 2026, this is going to be relevant for you. Now my dear friends, if you have any questions, you can let me know in the chat box. If you have no questions, I would request you that please let me know on WhatsApp, just in case if you are not able to ask in the live session. What you can do is you can post your queries on the WhatsApp. I have already mentioned the relevant links for the demo lectures, for the WhatsApp group and everything in the description box. You can go and you can check the relevant links, and if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I would be happy to help you here. My dear friends, AA is that one particular subject where you can score a good marks, because it has the capability of giving you at least 25 marks in the MCQs also, and our first target is to prepare you for that only. That is, you should be able to score at least 25 marks out of the 30 marks in the MCQ format, so that you can score even better marks in the descriptive part and have a rank also. So my dear friends, my best wishes with you, all the very best. If you have any questions, please feel